Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I'm going to give you guys a complete Mina guide. Going to be going through all of her best game modes, her best builds, and also casual pro tips, all of that good stuff. So you guys will get to understand Mina a lot better. She's a really high skill cap brawler because with every single attack, she will dash. And it's just a hard concept for a lot of the casuals to get used to because a lot of them still think Mina's bad, but she's actually one of the best brawlers inside of the game. So let's just start off with the fundamental then. So Mina has 8,200 health, which is a decent amount, which is actually quite on the tankier side. It says in her class that she's a damage dealer, which she is a really good damage dealer, but she's more of a hybrid assassin in my opinion because, well, the final stage that she can put out so much damage makes her a damage dealer, but most of the time she is an assassin, so the damage depends on her attack pattern, and so does her range as well. So the first attack pattern, it is longer range, 1,600 damage, so not really a lot, but it's 8 tiles in range, so that is pretty decent. It's on the longer side. The second range is, well, the second sequence is normal range, 2,800 damage and 6 tiles. So again, like on the medium side, most time you should be able to hit this shot. And then the final sequence is much shorter range, which is 4.67 tiles, but it deals a whopping 4,400 damage. So you can just combo so crazy with this brawler. She has fast movement speed, and her super, it all depends on the amount of attack damage that you deal, but typically it will be about 3 or 4 shots to build up that super, which is very fast charging. Moving on to her super knocks brawlers up into the air for like 1 second. It's pretty easy to hit. It's a tornado. It deals 2,000 damage as well, so a pretty decent amount of damage, but it's actually a pretty good super for how quickly it charges as well. There's so much to like about Mina. So let's go through her builds then. So gadget number 1 is called Windmill. It has an 18-second cooldown, but what this does is basically like a mini buster shield. It will block all projectiles for 3 seconds. So this is going to be really good on maps with a bunch of choke points. Think of like Jordan Beetles. Think of any map with some really narrow lanes. It's going to be good for that reason. It's going to be good into brawlers that shoot a lot of projectiles, of course. It's going to be good into like Rico supers, just Colts, etc. Lolas. It's going to be really good for that reason, and just good for keeping you alive. I think this will be better on the more defensive game modes, and maybe in hot zone as well, where you need to defend a choke point. I think it'll be a really underrated gadget. It's a really good one to think about it. A buster shield with a click of a button, but the second gadget is just too strong for it. Gadget number 2 is called Kapow What, and essentially what this does, it instantly recharges your super if your super hits somebody, which with Mina's super, you just get your super to begin with really fast, 3 or 4 hits, right? And it's pretty easy to hit because you're going to be super up close and personal with a brawler like Mina because of her dash ability, so you're able to chain supers like crazy. And if you pair this with a second star power, it's even more toxic, but it's just still toxic for the reason you get your super back instantly. So that means you're going to be dealing at least 4,000 damage to that brawler up close. You're also going to be throwing them in the air. That means they just literally can't do anything around them for that brief amount of time, which is basically like a stun, right? Which is even better actually because they can't deal any damage to you. It's just crazy. It's just crazy that you can throw them in the air twice. And just thinking like Brawl Ball, they can't defend. Just thinking hot zone, they remove from the objective. There's just so many capabilities for this. The combinations are crazy. Now moving on to her star power. Starting off with star power 1, it's called Zoom Zoom Zoom. So with this star power, Mina's combo attack 3 will heal 50% of the damage done. So if you actually get with your last attack combo, if you hit multiple people, you will heal more as well. It's actually quite hard to make that happen because there's a short delay with the third attack, but just healing is essential. It reminds me of like other assassins that don't have any healing capabilities. They just tend to struggle a lot of the time, but this star power just allows you with every single combination. And the best thing about Mina is probably that attack pattern 3. It deals so much damage, so just being able to heal up in that 1 versus 1 combat is just such a good star power. Star power number 2 is called Blown Away, and with Mina's super, it will root all enemies on the spot. So if you don't know what rooting is, just think of Illumi's super. It's exactly like that. They're rooted on the spot for like 1 second. They cannot move, although it is a pretty decent ability to root someone, and it just makes them an easier target. I don't think it's like anything groundbreaking, if that makes sense. Like, it's a good star power to have, and especially if you combine it with the second gadget, which you instantly recharge your super with. I think it can be good, but I feel like the super is good enough without it, if that makes sense. So it's a worthwhile star power, but the other one is better. So now let's take a look at her best build after playing her for a couple of days now. Her best build was pretty much the one that I said in my sneak peek, is that second gadget is by far the better gadget. It's so broken. It's what makes Mina such a good brawler. This one, again, will be good over time once this one is nerfed. Both of them are pretty good, but definitely gadget number 2 and star power number 1 is definitely a better one. Make sure that you're using the default skin, because currently there is a bug, probably be fixed in the future. It doesn't work with the mythic skins in star power, but make sure to use it with the default skin. This star power can be okay, but this one is just by far the better one in my opinion. And then gears, because you more so deal like you're being like an assassin with her, right? So you need the shield gear on top of that, and the damage gear, because on top of her attack 3, if the damage gear is popped, I believe you can deal upwards of 5k damage with that last sequence shot, which is absolutely brutal. So this is by far her best build. So let's quickly go through all of her best game modes then. So to begin with, it's quite clear that her best game mode is going to be Brawl. That's often the case with a lot of these new brawlers, but it's definitely the case with Mina, because with her main attack, she'll be dashing around. There's just so much mobility, and being a damage dealer on top of it, assassin, damage dealer, it's just a perfect combination for Brawl. So absolutely one of the best. Gem grab, she's going to be a pretty decent brawler in gem grab, and because just how the ways that she's been released, I think she'll always be like an A or S tier brawler. I think what's stopping her from being like the best gem grab brawler right now is she hasn't got a hypercharge, whereas other gem grab brawlers like Lily, Kenji, etc., they've got the hypercharge that can just equal a team wipe just with a click of a button. So she's a very strong brawler, but not the best of the best in my opinion. You've also got Hot Zone. Hot Zone, she can create a lot of space because of her dash ability. Again, being a damage dealer, she's got this hybrid going on. I think she'll be really essential in Hot Zone, one of her best game modes. Then moving on to Knockout, this is definitely going to be her worst game mode. In her current state, with how strong she is, she can probably be a viable option in Knockout, but once she gets some nerfs, I just think there'll be better options just because of her limited range. She might be good once the gas closes in, but I think there's better tanks and better mobile brawlers. There's Bounty. So Bounty, I think she's actually going to be really good on some maps like Layer Cake and a few other instances. She's going to need a lot of cover to make work, but any map with a lot of walls, I think she's going to be very good. Seeing as she's a damage dealer and an assassin. And then lastly, we've got Heist. So Heist, again, in her current state, she's going to be really, really good, but she will lack that power, I believe. I mean, she can be good in a few instances, but I think there's just better damage dealers out there. There's better tanks like Bull, and there's just better consistent damage dealers that can hit the high safe from a longer distance. Let's move on to our casual tips then. So casual tip number 1 is to know that her third attack pattern, it can pierce through things. So whether that's going to be spawners running at you, Mr. P penguins, you know, Nita Bear, Tara pets, etc., or the third combination can pierce through everything, and it deals a lot of damage. So I think the main one is to take from this is that it can hit multiple enemies at the same time. It's quite rare because the third attack sequence is very short in range, but if there's multiple assassins on you, it's very beneficial, especially when you got the first star power, because you can heal more through the damage done. So if you're hitting 2 or 3 enemies, you're going to be healing up more with that first star power. So just a useful fact to know. Casual tip number 2 is to use her super and gadget number 2 combination to best effect. It's by far her best asset right now, although in the future it might get nerfed a little bit, probably a bit actually, because power watt is just absolutely insane. It's just to make sure to use back-to-back supers to just get so many crazy combinations as quickly as possible. So as soon as you have super, as soon as you have gadget, don't be afraid just to throw it out there, because you know you're going to get another super anyway. So you don't have to like think, oh, I'm going to get the best value out of this super, etc. You can just throw it out. It deals 2,000 damage. It's going to throw them in the air. It's going to help you out, whether it's you defeating that person that's getting thrown in the air, whether it's a teammate, it's going to be beneficial. And then if you hit another super after that, it's 4k damage. Just know that this gadget super combination is broken. Casual tip number 3 is to use walls to your advantage. So with most brawlers, you want to be using walls to position yourself well. You know, just think of Doug and Jackie, right? You're not just going to run into the open because they have very limited range. Well, the same kind of goes for Mina. She has got a little bit of range to her, but it's all about trying to get to that last attack sequence, because that deals the most damage, right? You don't want to be chipping people consistently with that first attack. So make sure you're using it, because the very limited range, it just makes it so easy when you're behind a wall. You can easily cycle through to your last attack sequence, and dealing 4.4k damage with a shot is absolutely insane. So yeah, make sure to use your attacks to push up to walls, create pressure. It's just the best way to play Mina. Moving on to casual tip number 4 is to make sure that you're always conserving ammo. Don't use up all your ammo, especially on those tougher matchups. The reason why you want to do this is because your ammo is just essential for most brawlers, but especially Mina, because it's all about her mobility, right? It's not like Kaze where you have literally one of the fastest reload speeds inside of the game. Mina, she's got a fast reload speed, but you will be punished if you just caught spamming. I definitely was someone that was doing that when I was first playing Mina. Like, I was just spamming my attacks. a lot of the time I didn't know what was going on, but the more in my head, I was like, okay, I've got to conserve my ammo. I've got to be a little bit more careful how I approach things. Because again, for example, if like a Mortis is closing you down, if there's a Kenji closing you down, if you're caught just spamming too much of your ammo, they can take you down. But if you've got like 1 or 2 ammo spare, you can actually dash away and at least give yourself a little bit more time to escape and survive. So just know that, don't get caught just spamming your attacks no matter what. You got to think about every single attack precisely. And then moving on to casual tip number 5, which might seem pretty obvious as well, but to use your first 2 attacks just to go through the sequences so then you can land your 4.4k attack. I've been saying this a lot. I mean, you can chip down and get some decent damage with the first 2 sequences. I'm not just saying just throw them away, but most of the time in your head, you want to be thinking about that sequence, right? You'll be thinking, okay, if I use 1, 2 pieces of ammo and this person's behind a wall, well, I can combo them with 4.4k. I know it's going to hit them, etc. It's going to burst them down pretty quickly. So just use your attacks mainly to get into position so you can land that 4.4k shot. So it bodes well with a lot of my other tips, is just don't like spam your ammo like crazy, because then you're going to be constantly stuck on the 1.6k shot first sequence. You want to be conserving your ammo and then dialing it up to that 3rd sequence. So just always have this in the back of your mind, because you want to be dealing as much damage as possible. So now let's move on to the pro tips. So a lot of these might like coincide with a lot of casual tips, but the first one, and especially you need to be learning this when you're looking to master Mina, is to not use all of your attacks of mobility. So again, you might think, well, you just told me to use 2 attacks to kill someone in the previous tip. Well, I mean, more so is like making sure that you're just not always caught with no ammo, is what I'm essentially trying to say here. Again, is that a lot of the times it's easy to just spam attacks for no reason. Like I'm talking like even spam through the 3rd sequence, and then you're just left with no ammo, right? You want to just be managing your sequence as much as possible, because the later you go on, the more damage you're going to deal. So if you're constantly on no ammo, which a lot of Mina players I've been seeing are just constantly on no ammo, well, they're going to be dealing 1.6k damage. Of course, Mina's going to feel terrible if you're constantly low on ammo. Sometimes you might get caught, and that's a way to counter Mina, is to get the opponent to waste the ammo, by the way. But clever Mina players will just not engage, keep a couple of pieces of ammo, and they'll know that they've got quite a lot of damage pending. So just learn this, please. Pro tip number 2 is, after using your super, make sure that you're trying to get your combinations going in time. So by the time they land, or just anytime really, just make sure you're getting close to the opponent so you can land that last combination. It's just so easy to get this going. Again, throw somebody up the air. If you've already shot 1 shot, which is great, you're already onto the 2 and number 3 sequence, it just allows for really easy kills a lot of time, especially if that brawler that you're throwing up in the air is super vulnerable, or they're on the weaker side and you know that 4.4k is going to finish them off. Well, get close to the opponents. It's just a free way to confirm a kill for me. So yeah, just do that with your super. Again, people just throw out the super and don't follow up on it. Make sure you're following up on that super. Pro tip number 3, which took a while for me to understand the kind of logic behind the attack delay on the 3rd sequence, but it's to know that yeah, there's a delay, right? Everybody knows this, and delays with attacks can sometimes be a little bit frustrating, i.e. on brawlers like Trunk. But for Mina, I think it actually serves a great purpose, and once I learned how to use it, I thought, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense, and if I use it to the best abilities, it's just going to help me win 1 versus 1 interaction. So what I like to do is that you can afford to be more aggressive. So of course, normally with a brawler, you shoot, the shot comes out instantly, but not with the 3rd sequence. So just know that you have got this built-in dash, right? This built-in dash actually extends your range when you think about it, because the shot doesn't come out instantly. So you've kind of got that split second after you dash forward on that 3rd sequence to get within range and hit that shot. So just know that, again, if you're just a little bit, so make sure that you're aiming most of your shots first and foremost, but just know if they're a little bit out of your range, well, it doesn't matter, because you're going to be dashing onto them and you can close the gap thanks to that attack delay. So use attack delay actually to your advantage in this situation. Pro tip number 4 is to make sure that you know that the more damage you deal, the faster your super charges up. So some people might already know this, but it's just essential for a lot of these quick combinations. Again, this probably might get nerfed in the future because of how powerful her super is, but just know if you're landing all 3 of your sequences, you're going to be charging up your super. The only way that it takes, I think, more than like 4 shots to build up your super is if you're just hitting that first sequence. But most of the time, if you hit like one of your last sequences, if you hit your 2nd sequence, you're going to be charging that super up in around 3 to 4 shots, which is very fast for a super that throws people into the air and stops them from attacking. So yeah, just know that the more you're into your sequence, the quicker you charge in super. So just even more benefits to not be spamming out that first attack. Make sure that you're going through the sequences. So now moving into the fifth and final pro tip, which is actually the best one, and it does require a little bit of practicing. Sometimes, like, it's going to be hard to make work in a real game, but this sequence is really, really strong. So this sequence can deal upwards of 14,000 damage, which is insane, which should be able to one-shot pretty much every brawler in the game outside of like Frank with Sponge, I believe, with shield gear maybe. But this sequence is insane, so make sure that you're using the first, and then, well, you've got to have super to begin with. Use your first attack sequence, and then you throw out your second sequence, but as you throw that out before it hits, throw out your super instantly again. So this combination, it'll hit that second shot, it'll hit the super. That actually allows you to build up a lot of your next super. Then your third combination hits, that builds up your second super instantly, like literally instantly, and then you throw that out again, and then you're into your last shot. So all of this, again, you'll be able to see it. It's kind of, it reminds me of like the Fang sequence. So 1, 2 shots, well, the second sequence and super, and then your third combination, you get super back instantly, and then just spam out another attack. Even better if you can combine your gadget with this, it probably leads to even more fast combinations. So just work around the combinations. You probably don't even need to perfect this particular combination, but it's more so pairing your later sequences with your super and just get the timings right, and you'll just delete pretty much everybody in the 1 versus 1. It's absolutely insane at the moment. So that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below which brawler you want me to do next, and I'll see you guys next time.